What's up, Trainee Axe? Welcome to this week's Triathlon News Day. In this week's News Day, people are resigning from companies, other companies are getting sold, and unfortunately, this is serious. Athletes are dying in Ironmans. What's up, Trainee Axe? Welcome to this week's Triathlon News Day Tuesday, where every single Tuesday, as long as there's news to talk about and I'm not traveling, we talk about what's going on all around the triathlon world. As always, full links to everything we talk about will be in the description below. And make sure you stick around to the end where everyone's favorite part of Triathlon News Day is shared, and that's a story from the Trainiac community. Let's just start off by getting right into it. Ironman announced a new program celebrating and encouraging new triathletes to get into the sport. It's called the Ironman Class of program, and what they're going to be doing is, regardless of when you finished, over decades of Ironman racing, in the first year that you finish an Ironman race, I believe it's just a full distance race, you will be inducted into the Ironman Class of 2019-2020. Very good idea. Let's celebrate new triathletes and hopefully a bunch of new Trainiacs becoming Ironman and women. Big news in the triathlon industry that sort of got swept under the rug. SRAM bought Powertap. So SRAM is the components manufacturer that also owns Quark power meters, Powertap being the manufacturer of the P2, P1 power pedals that I use, the Powertap power hub that gives people their power when they're on the bike. Now, this isn't terribly surprising that SRAM bought Powertap, because a contact in the industry told me that Powertap has been losing significant money for quite some time. So this is a bit of a bailout, and SRAM will integrate Powertap into the Quark lineup of power products. I think I made that sound a lot more complicated than I needed to. Unfortunately, I missed talking about this last week, but this is a serious note that 2 athletes died at full Ironman South Africa last weekend. I didn't hear about it at the time, and unfortunately, the race organizers had to come out with a statement confirming that 2 athletes had asked for assistance in the swim portion of the shortened swim from 3.8 kilometers to 1.6 kilometers. They were given assistance, taken to hospital. One of them died of a heart attack, and the other one had convulsions. And this is a really unfortunate reality that we deal with a very chaotic situation that Ironman is trying to alleviate and improve with things like rolling starts and age group starts as opposed to these mass starts. But still, fact of the matter is that you are swimming with 2,000 to 3,000 of your closest friends around you, and when you aren't prepared for it and you might have an underlying condition, these things might happen. And it's one of the reasons why I caution people from jumping into one of these huge races, because there is so much going on that unfortunately, things like this happen, and I can guarantee that if you are much more calm in the race, it's not to say anything about these 2 athletes because I don't know them whatsoever, but if you have a much calmer experience in the race, odds are you're going to be safer. Respect the distance. It's a very serious thing. Now, effective immediately, President of the Board of Directors of the USA Triathlon has resigned to become the full-time paid president of USA Team Handball. Now, to me, just hearing this is fairly wild. When I met Barry last year at Triathlon Business International, he was like the godfather of triathlon. He was synonymous with the sport, having built up 5430 Sports, which held 8 triathlons and was eventually sold to Ironman. He'd been part of the board of directors of USAT since, I believe, 2012, and the president since 2014. He's been instrumental in recruiting the new CEO, Rocky Harris, implementing My Time to Try, all of these new programs that are growing USA Triathlon from essentially a glorified insurance company to grassroots organizations to an actual driver of triathlon. And it's unfortunate to see Barry go, but we wish him luck. In Ironman racing news, there were a bunch of half Ironmans going on out there. In half Ironman Peru, Vincente Cabrera beat out Andy Potts and Kevin Collington to win that race, and Lauren Goss won the women's race, posting on Instagram that at this time last year, she was taking antidepressants and sleeping pills and never thought that she would really get to that level of competition ever again. And here she is winning Half Ironman Peru. Congratulations to you. And in China, Half Ironman Liuzhou happened with the timeless 45-year-old Craig Alexander winning. Jeez, this guy ever stopped? The guy still got an 8-pack at 45. And of course, Agnieszka Jerzyk. I had a hard time with that last year, and I'm going to have a hard time with that this year if you keep winning. Agnieszka won the women's race. Congratulations to you both. With the Triathlon Taren Podcast, we just released a very sciencey short episode with everything that you needed to know about creatine as it relates to endurance training. A little bit of a tease on that. There are indications that creatine is a supplement that can clearly help certain aspects of endurance training, but not necessarily endurance. So there's very tricky ways that you can use it. I recommend go trying it out. If you have any background in creatine use with, say, weightlifting, you know the benefit that it can have with weightlifting, explosive performance. There are indications that it could be used in triathlon. As far as coming up, I just posted on Instagram, what do you want me to talk about? And instead of asking for a whole multitude of interviews, you asked for a whole multitude of topics about training. So they seem to be popular episodes, so we might knock off a few little mano you and me one-on-one training episodes coming up. Make sure you go check it out. It's still the most highly ranked triathlon podcast in the world on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you didn't know, we're also on Spotify. Check it out. Now, let's get into the Trainiac Story of the week, which starts off with a shout out to everyone here. Hey, Taron, Kim, Mel, Gracie, and Petey. I like you, James. My name is James Baker and I live in a little coastal town called Southwest Rocks, halfway between Brisbane and Sydney on the east coast of Australia with my amazing wife Renee, also known as NTR, No Triathlon Renee, and our boys Thomas and Frankie. I came to be a triathlete on a whim and I've caught the bug and I just love it. Crossing the finish line for the first time back in 2016 was one of the best feelings of accomplishment that I've ever had. 2019 now marks the beginning of my 3-year plan to become an Ironman before I turn 40 in 2021. I'm also using triathlon as a platform to raise awareness of dementia by fundraising for Dementia Australia. Seeing my pop go from an admired, hardworking family man, reduced to living in a care facility where he needs a nurse to get him dressed and spoon feed him, just feels so wrong and unfair. The worst part of it is that he has no idea, although there may be some solace in that fact. Living an active lifestyle is one thing, however, that you can do to help avoid the same degeneration in life, and I want to promote that through triathlon. That's enough about me and my autobiography. I think that if I lived in your frozen tundra part of the world, we'd be pretty good mates, as I'm part ginger too. As you can see from the beard, we just color correct for that, so you all go nuts for my ginger beard. Thank you again for inspiring this Aussie Trainiac. Thank you very much, James, for sharing that. This is the stuff that I love hearing, that people are incorporating it into whatever they're passionate about. I'm sorry to hear about your dad, but triathlon, as we talk about all the time in these Trainiac stories, not only helps you live a fitter, more fulfilling life, be a better version of yourself, but it also allows you to inspire and help those around you. So good on you, James. If you want your story shared, everyone out there is doing really cool things, and we get tons of messages about how inspiring these are to everyone else out there. So please email us at taron@triathlontaren.com with your story, maybe a couple race photos, and you'll get featured here. And if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button below for these Newsday Tuesdays. That wasn't CGI, not special effects, just effects. Magic. Later, Trainee Axe.